We've been down this road before. YouTube is huge. YouTube is one of the biggest websites on the internet. Anyone can upload a video, and pretty much everybody does. Some do it for fun, some do it for fame, but in recent times, everything on YouTube, and pretty much the internet as a whole, is driven by algorithms. Instead of just exploring on your own like in the old days, the algorithms will look at what you like and just cater to your whims. Oh, you like that digital circus show? You watched just one video on it? Well, here it is 1,000 times over, just for you. This is how hyperfixations start. For as long as the concept of intellectual properties has existed, there have always been attempts to leech off of a popular property's success. Bootlegs, clones, anything that can latch onto the property to make a quick buck off of it. And these days, it's never been more obvious. If anything becomes remotely popular, you'll get tons and tons of people wanting to cash in on it. And the algorithm on every website usually pushes for this kind of stuff. It actively encourages it. And so, people take full advantage of that. Whenever something blows up in popularity on the internet, you're going to be seeing it in dozens of videos based on it for the next couple of weeks on your timeline. What we're going to talk about today is this phenomenon happening with old Flavor of the Month games. And for those who don't know, Flavor of the Month means when something is incredibly popular for a short duration and then everyone suddenly stops caring about it around the same time. Basically, another play on what a fad is. There were many games that were super popular for a time. Like, they were everywhere. Everyone was playing them and everyone was making fan tributes, parodies, and various spins on them. And then, once the game's popularity died off, so did all the content surrounding it. And they sit here on YouTube, collecting e-dust for games nobody talks about nor plays anymore. Welcome to... You ever just look at fads of old and just question, how exactly did they take off? You know, stuff like the Beanie Babies, Pogs, Pet Rocks, all of these were extremely popular at one point and just dropped off. There is a lot of social and economical reasons why these were hugely popular at one point, but I was either too young or not even born yet to see the massive popularity they once had. The only fad I really remember specifically from when I was younger was the Silly Bands fad. Oh Lord, one of my friends had a tub of Silly Bands. He would sell for like $5 a pop. He made huge bank off that, and then the fad died, so he was just left with a giant tub of Silly Bands nobody wanted. Sad time indeed, but enough rambling. The fad I want to focus on right now is Flappy Bird. With smartphones becoming more accessible and available to the public, the App Store started being filled with these small little free games you could open up, play for a few minutes, and then stop. There being no better example than Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird had one of the simplest concepts of a game right next to Pong. You tap the screen to flap, and then you don't touch anything. That's it. You get the basic gist of the game in the first 30 seconds, and it never evolves past this. Just see how far you can get before tasting dirt. And that's the thing about Flappy Bird. It is deceivingly simple, but at the same time, this game is way harder than it looks. Just watching footage, anyone can be like, oh, this is nothing, I can do that easy. Then you download it, play it, and then you truly understand that this game takes no prisoners. Around 2013, a game like this would probably just die in the App Store due to its simplicity and no real push for you to keep playing. There were plenty of other games people could play that were way more in-depth and had way higher production values. Or so you may think. For some reason, this one little game that was so simple it only required one finger to play absolutely exploded in popularity. Every big YouTuber around the time started playing it, mostly showing off how this little game was incredibly frustrating and made them very mad, thus resulting in hilarity.
There we go, you shot!
And like I said, a lot of people became interested because it doesn't look that hard. Are these guys overreacting? Absolutely, it's for the bit.
Why are you still playing the game? You're still playing. Stop!
Stop this game!
Dude, what are you doing? Dude, that's like a $400 phone.
But then the viewers went and downloaded it, played it, and they saw, this is actually really difficult. So everyone started downloading the game because the YouTube Funny Man were now playing it, and the next thing you know, Flappy Bird is everywhere. All the kids at school were playing it, your siblings were playing it, your grandparents were playing it.
Ah, yeah! Damn!
All the Let's Players were getting in on it in more and more shameful ways.
Oh wow, you could really transplant this audio somewhere else.
Animations, song parodies, everything came out for this game. All this effort and talent put towards a game that looked and played like this. Flappy Bird fever was in full swing. But the most notable thing here wasn't the abundance of parodies or videos made around it. The most notable thing here was all the clones. Since Flappy Bird is probably one of the simplest games anyone can make, you saw a ton of amateur game devs pushing out their own little Flappy Bird clones, hoping to achieve the same level of success, and they all pretty much played the exact same way. Some tried putting their own spin on things. One of them was online, one of them was in 3D. Some coders actually went and coded Flappy Bird for old consoles. You can play Flappy Bird on the Atari 2600 if you wanted to. These things flooded the market, and for the vast majority of them, there is a reason to play them over the actual thing. Well, that was the case for a couple of months anyway. I think everyone secretly knew, due to the simple nature of the game and how little substance there was in it, the popularity was always going to be short-lived. Just a fad. But Flappy Bird actually didn't get to die a natural death like a lot of other fads. With the massive popularity of this thing, it was raking in tons of cash just from ad revenue. It was apparently raking in tens of thousands of dollars every day. And the developer must have been ecstatic at this. I don't think he would have ever expected this in his lifetime. Now, he had his bills paid for the next couple of years. He must have been loving this. Well, actually, no, he wasn't ecstatic. He was actually the complete opposite. Dong Nguyen, the dev, and his little game he developed in a few days was now everywhere. He made the game too addicting, and he felt tremendous guilt over it. He couldn't take the pressure, and on February 10th, 2014, the game was removed from all digital storefronts. Flappy Bird was no more. Now, it seemed like a good idea at the time, thinking that just removing the game was enough to slay the Titan. Unbeknownst to Nguyen, there were unforeseen consequences. Flappy Bird was a game that was heavy in demand, and now the production line had just been halted. Flappy Bird was now a game which you could no longer legally download anymore, therefore making all copies that had already been downloaded valuable. Cue the dollar signs. People started putting their phones up for sale on eBay for thousands of dollars, advertising it had Flappy Bird installed on it. The Flappy Bird clones were already coming at an extreme rate, but now that the actual game was gone, oh shit! Jim, quick, ramp up the slot machine! Some of these clones even had malware on them to compromise your devices.
The scam app requires you to give permission to send text messages, read your texts, and access other apps. Now, that's very unusual. The BBB reports that once installed, the fake Flappy Bird app tries to force users into sending text messages to a premium number. Now, trying to cancel the message doesn't work. It just keeps running in the background where it could access any information installed on your phone.
There was even a hoax story that someone actually had their life taken over Flappy Bird, and that's what caused Nguyen to take the game down. And it never actually happened. You can look at the video below in the description, which goes in more detail, but it goes to show you how insane this was now. Nguyen deleting the game just made things worse. Even I got in on the Flappy Bird craze around the time. I actually downloaded the game in the short window it was out, and it's actually still on my old crusty iPad from 2012. But someone a long time ago attempted to get into my iPad, but didn't know the password, and it locked it down. So now it's a huge paperweight. Now I gotta wait 24 million minutes, which roughly translates to 47 years. Baby Andreessen will be halfway finished by then too. Eventually, with the game not even being available to download anymore, and all those clones just couldn't fill the void, the year of the bird came and went. All these Flappy Bird videos and clones sit here, to that short-lived fad that everyone was raving over. You'd be hard-pressed to see anyone talk about it anymore, except for try-hard YouTubers making videos on it and giving you a dopamine hit of nostalgia. You're welcome. The dev would go on to make more games, even making an exclusive Flappy Bird game on the Amazon Fire Stick, but it didn't get near the same amount of traction. Flappy Bird was a fad in every sense of the word. But honestly, I'll take Flappy Bird over whatever the hell is on the app stores these days.
Hello.
Ew. Nasty.
Hey.
Western civilization is done for. Did you enjoy the simplicity of Flappy Bird? Well, good, because the rest of the games in this video are horror-adjacent games. Yeah, it seems like a lot of fad games on YouTube were horror games in some way, shape, or form. Of course, there's the very obvious example of Five Nights at Freddy's, but Freddy is still going strong today, so calling it a fad isn't accurate. But everything else is on the table. let's talk about a game I don't think anyone was expecting to blow up like it did.
Welcome to Baldi's Basics in Education and Learning. That's me.
Baldi's Basics in Education and Learning is a joke game. Well, it was a joke game. Released in 2018, it was a game that was designed to look like those 90s entertainment games, with the early CGI and strange vibes. It lured you into a false sense of security. Eventually, the mask falls off and the game's true nature comes out.
Fantastic.
You're getting chased by Baldi and have to collect all the notebooks before he catches you. You'll run into a bunch of obstacles and characters that'll get in your way to make damn sure you don't get those notebooks. Not really a unique concept all in all, the whole collecting notebooks thing had been done to death as you'll see later in the video, but the whole 90s edutainment aesthetic with a horror element had never been done like this, so it made it stick out. When it first released, it was just sort of dropped on itch.io without any fanfare. Just a game a guy made for fun. Itch.io is filled with these sorts of games. The first noteworthy person to actually play Baldi and show it to a wide audience was Vinny from Vinesauce, who just threw the game into a collection of games to play, and it was treated just like the others. He liked the concept and thought it was cool.
Baldi, no! Oh, fuck, it's a fidget spinner.
Well, a full month later, the game is suddenly being played by every single YouTuber under the sun. Baldi was now the hot new thing. This weird little game, made to look like a 90s entertainment game when it's secretly a horror game. Mods started coming out, and then other fan games with similar concepts, and then came the milking. When these fad games hit the algorithm, there was usually a pattern in the amount of content that was produced to ride their success. First came the playthroughs by all the famous YouTubers, then came the animations, then the song parodies, and then finally came the slop. I think I need to make a quick distinction. Sometimes YouTubers will put out something incredibly high quality to express their love for a game or a movie, and then other times, someone who has no interest in the product just shoves something out because the algorithm loves it and it's easy money. The Let's Plays, well, the guys doing it are well known on YouTube. They're about what you'd expect. They garner a huge audience just being themselves playing through these, but they're also the ones who are making these games famous. In the animations and song parodies, these are usually very mixed in quality. Some are actually really good, and others feel like they barely tried. But the quality didn't matter at the time, they usually crack 10 million views easy. Song parodies just get a ton of attention on YouTube no matter the case. And then finally, we have to cover the slop.
Okay, so I got one notebook, 1 out of 7. I think I'm doing pretty good. I've got to find 6 more notebooks.
This is the stuff that was usually shoved out the door as fast and low effort as possible, usually onto YouTube Kids for easy profit, because that's who the majority of the people who are consuming all this Baldi content were, kids. It's quite ironic, really. A game made to parody old edutainment games made for kids now had kids unironically playing it and consuming content that was based off of it. Well, it's crazy like that sometimes. The content some people pushed out was some of the most mind-numbing content possible. Basically, nothing but stimulation to keep someone's kids quiet for a few hours and nothing more. A lot of this slop usually consisted of family channels revolving around a guy chasing his kids on camera while dressed as Baldi, and cosplaying Baldi is probably one of the easiest things in the world. The costume is usually just a bald dude with a green shirt and a ruler. Maybe when my YouTube channel dies out, I can start a career cosplaying as Baldi. This guy got his kid to run in front of a green screen for like an hour so he could impose him in the game and make it look like he was in Baldi's Basics. I have no clue if the kid was having the time of his life doing this and being in Baldi was the coolest thing ever. It's really hard to tell. This one is so low effort. She's not even playing Baldi, she's just wearing a green shirt and wearing a fucking Mr. Bean mask.
I'm Baldi. Don't get any questions wrong or I'm telling Granny.
Sorry, lady. If you're gonna play Baldi, you gotta commit to the bit. Shave it all off.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it.
This was Skibidi Toilet in 2018, and they were getting millions and millions of views. This song parody has over 200 million views on it. That's insane! With all these YouTube channels no doubt raking in thousands and thousands of dollars off of Baldi, the developer of the game probably wasn't seeing much of that, because just to remind you, this game was completely free. No, it's still completely free. The original itch.io page is still up for you to download. The dev kept the original page up all these years later instead of starting to charge money for it. That's actually really nice of him. But he did manage to find other routes of revenue instead. I mean, can you really blame him? This game blew up into the stratosphere and he wasn't making much off the game itself. He started merchandising the game out to different companies. Baldi merchandise, t-shirts, mugs, and figure sets. These characters were made to look hideous on purpose. Why would I want them in my fucking house? He would set up a Kickstarter to fund an extended version of the game he could charge money for, Baldi's Basics Plus, which would reach its goal. But as with all fads, the masses would eventually get tired of Baldi and move on to something else. It was an unstoppable juggernaut for a few months, and then the fire eventually faded. The dev would make an anniversary update, and even this hiking game based on Baldi, but the interest had mostly faded by then. The other day, I walked into a Walgreens, and in the toy section, there was a slew of Baldi figures. Untouched, unnoticed, I didn't even know Baldi had figures until that day. I couldn't believe Baldi's Basics actually got figurines. This actually inspired me to make this video, seeing this. The dev is still working on Baldi's Basics Plus to this day, the Kickstarter being updated as recently as December of 2023. Baldi is close to turning 6 and the dev is still working on it, so at this point it's just an act of passion by the dev, instead of trying to ride its short-lived popularity, and honestly, that's the best way to go about it. Godspeed, Mika. Oh, and maybe, could you add a mode where Baldi can teach us about the horrors of male power and baldness? I would like the public to know.
Italy, Italy, diddly. That'd be nice. Hostility, diddly, biddly, diddly. Ah, hell, diddly, ding, dong, crap.
Five Nights at Freddy's really did change the face of horror. What used to be a very adult genre for only the toughest of gamers to get through.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
Well, that's what it was supposed to be anyway. But Five Nights at Freddy's was able to hit the right spot, where it was now able to market horror to kids and teenagers. Now it can make a series about giant killer robots, deceased children ghosts, and serial killers, and make cute little plushies and toys out of them. Oh, and a lot of teenage girls are turned on by the serial killer. Go figure. And thus, mascot horror was born. A bunch of other devs thought they could create their own marketable horror characters of all shapes and sizes, but the one I'm going to focus on is probably the biggest fall from grace. Not Ban Ban. Ban Ban had no grace to begin with. I'm of course talking about Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor is about a kid spying on his neighbor who he believes is up to some shady stuff, and, well, you sneak over to his house and spy on him, and, okay, I have a confession. Unlike everything else in this video, I have never played Hello Neighbor. Not a single bit of it. I just watched it and all the drama surrounding it from a distance, so I am not the best person to talk about it. That's why I need to bring in an expert. Someone who can actually talk more about it. Someone who's more well-versed in the Neighborverse. Who is up to the task?
Fucking amateur hour.
Hello Neighbor was a horror puzzle survival neighbor game developed by TinyBuild, the first of its kind, keyword first. It fit right in with the big indie horror boom of the mid-2010s. It became popular before it even released technically. It gained its peak popularity with people like Markiplier playing the early builds of the game, and slowly he became less and less interested to the point where he didn't know what was going on and he never even played the full game after it.
This game is broken. This game is like broken. I mean, oh, what? You're not supposed to go in? Is that what I'm supposed to get here? You're not supposed to go in. You're not supposed to go in the amazing door that has nothing in it. Wow, that door is off its hinges.
It became another big horror game to freak out about, but it always felt like a black sheep, like there wasn't much to do with it. The most interesting gameplay there was just seeing the game glitching the hell out while everyone acts like this jump scare is the most horrifying thing to ever happen. People tried to latch onto the lore and secrets of the game, but what were the theories? Well, MatPat thought Mr. Peterson, you know, the neighbor guy, was an agent of Satan. You know, that's not his worst. It just was hard to theorize about because it seemed like random stuff was thrown in there just to bait theories. Like what is this? Explain this to me. Even though I don't understand why, it was popular, and that would of course lead to...
Oh, wait, what? Yes, I'm stuck. Is this glue? Ooh, who's that nut?
What? Hello, neighbor.
Hey, what in the halls are all these man traps? I'm gonna call my mom or my dad. I'm scared again and my pants are all wet.
Jacksepticeye was playing with kids' toys all day and uploading it to YouTube. The main audience for Hello Neighbor and FGTV overlapped quite a bit, and it's just a circle. We got stuff like Hello Neighbor in real life videos with tens of millions of views somehow. These family slop channels were having a field day with my Mr. Peterson. I kind of feel bad for the few actual Hello Neighbor fans who somehow care about this franchise, God bless their heart, because their favorite Mr. Peterson was now just a puppet for people that look like this. Puppet Steve was quick to review the merchandise when that came out to varying degrees of really funny for no reason.
Hello Neighbor bear trap! Try this on for size, Mr. Peterson. What? No! Oh, my face!
Long ass fucking arm.
Get the fuck off my property!
Nerdcore got their hands on and a bunch of songs were made because, hey, it's gonna get views, and all of these have a soft spot in my heart. To DA games screaming, "Get out of my house," to Random Encounters doing their Random Encounters thing and creating the best thing I've ever seen. Then the animations, dear God.
Oh my gosh! What is happening right now? This man descended from the heavens like he was God. I'm off this game.
The only one worth mentioning is the Smash Bits one.
This is a replica of Andy's room from Toy Story.
The sad thing is, I think this might have screwed over Tiny Build in the long run. They saw all these fan works being created, but they weren't fan works. In fact, I bet a lot of these people didn't even buy the game. The first game was so popular that they immediately launched an entire franchise with books, merchandise, spin-offs, and sequels, but only some of these things sold well. And eventually when Hello Neighbor 2 came out, nobody really cared. Don't get me wrong, there were still some fans, and they're trying to make an animated series, but the game definitely underperformed than the numbers they thought it would pull. Dear God, even Secret Neighbor was more popular. To me, it looks like another franchise doomed to become a victim of FGTV.
When you hit that clap, run fast like a turkey. I'm a gurky turkey. Gurky turkey. Gurky turkey.
Okay, I think that's enough. Thank you, Chaz. Thank you for the run-by. That was more than enough I need to know about Hello Neighbor. You have served your country well, soldier. Thank you.
Girl Irish, no man, up.
And after all that milking, all that content, the company behind Hello Neighbor is on the cusp of bankruptcy, showing us the short-lived fads really don't matter in the end. We should all hope for the best for Tiny Build, because maybe Hello Neighbor 3 will be a masterpiece, and maybe one of these days, MatPat will respond to that DM. Slender Man is probably the most well-known and well-received creepypasta character on the planet. I'd say he's probably the de facto creepypasta. All the media surrounding him has usually been of higher quality than most others. Marble Hornets were the main ones doing most of the heavy lifting in terms of content surrounding Slender Man, which puts it way above others by default. Stuff like Sonic.exe and Jeff the Killer are seen as cringy and outdated now, but Slender Man is still looked back on fondly, well, for the most part. But what I want to focus on is in 2012, when a game called Slender the 8 Pages, loosely based on Slender Man, came out. Slender the 8 Pages is an extremely simple game in concept. Walk around the woods and collect 8 pages to win. All you can do is walk, and you can cut your flashlight on and off. Objective is pretty simple, but of course, it can't really be, can it? No, as you collect more and more pages, you start getting stalked by an egg in a business suit, and if you look at it for too long, you die. That's the whole game, basically. Despite its simplicity, this little horror game where all you do is walk and not look at your morning breakfast absolutely exploded onto the scene, where it not only kickstarted a bunch of things, but also pretty much changed YouTube forever.
How's it going, bro? My name is PewDiePie. Welcome to... I guess the game will show you in... There it is. Slender.
This game basically catapulted PewDiePie's career. He shot to 1 million subscribers after the video of him playing Slender went viral. He was a household name in a little over a month. After seeing PewDiePie play it, the people who watched the vid then went to their favorite YouTubers and wanted them to play it. And they did, and it also shot them into stardom.
Okay, I have been inundated. Literally, people have been messaging me day and night, writing in every comment of every video I've ever posted since Slender got released to play Slender. So, welcome to Let's Play Slender.
It seems like this game made whoever played it an instant e-celeb, so everyone started playing it, hoping to be the next one to be shot into stardom. This is where the cycle of fad games truly started. The Let's Plays, the animations, and the song parodies. But there really was no slop made for Slender because YouTube Kids didn't exist back in 2012. This game also probably had a huge hand in also sparking the interest in creepypastas back in the day. Before this came out, they're more of a really niche thing. But now, tons of channels were spawning reading them, playing fan games of them, and really making the entirety of the 2010s the decade of the creepypasta. More people were interested in them than ever before, and because of it, more stories and popular creepypastas were spawned. More stories about Slender Man were made, more games starring Slender Man were made. It was a constant feedback loop of content being produced. The impact this game had cannot be underestimated. Not only did it kickstart many YouTube careers, not only did it get a ton of people interested in creepypasta content, but it also basically changed gaming content on YouTube forever. Before this game came out, when people played a game, you just had footage of the game and people commentating over it while playing it. That was the standard for years.
Howdy guys, it's Nintendo Capri Sun, and this is my Wii screen. Say hello. This is all my crap, Mega Man 9, Final Fantasy. And over here all by itself is Majora's Mask. I'm so very lonely.
After this game just erupted in popularity and every YouTuber under the sun was playing it, you had to have a webcam now. You had to show your mug to the masses and make funny faces and noises into it, or people didn't care anymore.
Out of the way, tree.
And that's still true to this day, really. Today, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone playing a game that is just raw footage of the game with commentary, instead of having a webcam in the corner or a V2 avatar of some kind. All the major changes this one game caused to the internet scene, and when you look at the game itself, you realize just how low budget and average it actually is. I mean, it looks like a PS2 game, and the entire game is really just shallow. The presentation and scares is all it really has going for it. Even the devs realized this, because they would soon announce and release what they claimed is the full realized version of Slender the following year. Slender the Arrival. A bigger budget, more expanded version of Slender, with an actual story and progression. And people hated it. Yeah, people didn't really like this game. A lot called it disappointing, boring, and a whole bunch of things. A lot of the game doesn't even have you getting chased by Slender Man. You get chased by some teenage girl instead. Although, to be fair, a moody teenager is probably more terrifying than any tall man would ever be. It just wasn't a good game. Definitely couldn't live up to its predecessor. Slender Man was the top dog of horror content in 2012 and 2013. Everyone was talking about it, or playing fan games, or other creepypasta games. It was riding high for a good while, longer than most other fads. But in 2014, it was hit with a 1-2 punch and knocked off its pedestal in a way nobody anticipated. Another horror game came out in 2014 that stole all of its thunder and was the new popular kid on the block, and everyone shifted over to that. That was already inevitable. It happens to all fads. Something new always comes out and replaces them. But the second thing that happened in 2014, it not only killed interest in the game, but in Slender Man in general. I think a lot of people know what's coming up. On May 31st, 2014, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, two 12-year-old girls lured a friend into the woods and stabbed her 19 times for seemingly no reason and left her for dead. The girl, named Peyton Leutner, actually survived this stabbing and managed to crawl her way to a highway and was rescued and taken to a hospital. They then found the two girls, arrested them, and interrogated them to find out why. Why did they attack this poor girl? Well, it turns out they were using Peyton as a sacrifice to Slender Man, so they could then be allowed into the Slender Mansion. It also turned out one of the girls had a history of mental illness. She would see and hear things that weren't there, talk to people that weren't there, among other things, and the other girl just went along with it. So when given unlimited internet access, it probably only made things worse. One girl was sent to prison while the other was institutionalized. Peyton made a full recovery, thankfully.
ABC News exclusive. You're going to meet a young woman with an extraordinary story of survival. She was the victim of a crime that shocked parents everywhere. Stabbed 19 times, allegedly by two of her friends, who said they were trying to impress a fictional internet character called Slender Man.
This story made international news. And when it made the news, all interest in the game Slender, and Slender Man in general, just instantly died. The whole concept of the character and all of its lore and content just wasn't fun anymore. Slender Man's popularity was so massive around the time, it actually had real-world consequences. It just seemed awkward to talk about it now without the elephant in the room being brought up, kind of like Amber from Danny Phantom. There was actually a Slender Man movie announced in 2016 and released in 2018, but by then, nobody cared anymore. It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. I mean, thankfully nobody died, but she's going to be remembering that for the rest of her life. She nearly died over Slender Man, the creepypasta icon that had a game based on it that changed the course of YouTube forever, nearly ended someone's life. What a world we live in. Well, it got depressing near the end, didn't it? I don't always intend for this to happen, but it just does. There just always seems to be some screwed up shit that always happens due to people having way too much internet access. I just wanted this to be a little fun trip down memory lane, like, hey, remember when this was the hot thing? In the future, people are going to be looking back on Ban Ban and Skibbity Toilet fondly, so enjoy these while you can. There was at least some heart put into them. Well, for the most part. God bless, like and subscribe, and good night. And please, folks, for the love of God, don't spend every waking moment online. It's not healthy.
I just woke up. What in God's name is going on here? Son of a midnight snacking bitch! It's a Slender Man! And he's using my treadmill! So that's how this binge-eating junk food junkie stays so skinny.